Hey guys, what's going on? Nick Blanton here. In today's video, I want to share with you 5 ways that you can get rich.
Hi, I'm Nick Blanton, and I'm on a mission to help you quit your job and get your freedom back with freelance marketing. In my first year, I went from making $20 an hour to $100 per hour, and since then, I've made a lot more and worked a lot less, all while making my clients millions and gaining the skills to start my own successful business. If you're ready to do the same and get your freedom back, hit subscribe below.
Well, actually, we should talk definitions here because my goal is never to be rich for the sake of just having all this money. My goal has always been freedom. And I actually really just care about having the freedom to do what I want and to be able to, go where I want and to be able to take whoever I want with me and to be able to help whoever I want and all of these things. To me, it's really about freedom to make choices and to do what I want, to do what I feel like I need to do. And, unfortunately, jobs and the way that most people live and things like that restrict your freedom. And, but there are things that we can do and choices that we can make that can give us that freedom back and, financial freedom, time freedom, and all of these things. And that's what I consider being rich. Okay. So let's jump in. The first way you can become rich today is by being an heir, right? Inheriting money. And, there's recently a study done of 10,000 millionaires. And out of those 10,000 millionaires, only about 10% had really inherited any kind of, decent size money. 80% of them never inherited anything at all, right? And so the vast majority of people who are millionaires today came from nothing. They didn't get anything handed to them, but they worked and they saved up, and eventually they came out with $1 million, however they did it. And, so I think a lot of us get stuck in this mindset. And I know as a kid and as a teenager and even into my early 20s, I had this mindset of I wasn't born with money, and so I'm just going to be poor. That's just how I am. And, it's very easy to get stuck in that mindset of my condition today is how it's going to be tomorrow, or maybe it'll get a little better, but not that much. But that's like not the truth at all. Like there is so much possibility for you, but it takes learning to figure out problems and to solve them in order to go to the next level in your life. But if we have the belief that I am not able to make money or to get rich or to, have $1 million because I, wasn't born into money, then what's going to happen is that at every step where, we're presented these different opportunities and these different, obstacles that are, able to stop us from doing that, we'll just say, well, yeah, this is what happens when somebody like me tries to get rich. We run into this stuff and we just can't do it. You just can't do it. It's not going to work for me. And so that's a very lazy mindset. And that's the thing that keeps you from actually making money. See, if we have the mindset of I can do this, this is possible. 80% of people who make a lot of money, they end up doing it just the same way I'm doing it. It takes me using my brain and solving problems in order to, acquire wealth. Well, then with that mindset, you actually can do these things. You can find solutions to problems. You can overcome these obstacles and make a lot of money. So while you could possibly become rich by being an heir, the vast majority of people do not. And, if you're anything like me, you're not going to inherit a lot of money, and that's not really an option for you anyway. So I think it's important to have that mindset of that this is not how it has to be. This is not how most people do it. And that way, some of these other ways to actually make a lot of money, become wealthy, are opened up to you. Okay. So the second way, which I also do not recommend, is by becoming lucky. Okay. That luck can come in a lot of different forms. I lived in Romania for 3 years, and you've probably seen some of my other videos about that. But, as an expat coming from America, and I was making a lot of money, doing freelancing for companies that were in America. And so, I lived in the nicest area of Bucharest. There's nothing that was any better. And, some of the nicest houses even. And, it was a lot of very wealthy people around me. And so, it was really cool living there. And in my area, you didn't see all these like game rooms, these places where they go and gamble, right? Gambling halls or whatever you'd call them. But in other areas, like the poorer areas, you'd see a ton of them. They're all over the place. And I think I heard people recently talking about this, and the reason why they're in all these poor areas is because to those people, this is really what they're hoping for. They're like, oh, I want to be rich, and this gives them like hope that it is possible. And even if like just one person out of 10,000 goes and makes a good chunk of money there, they're going to be in all the ads. They're going to be talking about them, all the time. They're going to show, look how much money this person made, or look how much money you can make here. And the vast majority just continue to lose day after day after day after day, and it doesn't work out for them. And so, that's not a way to get rich either. Even if you think like sports, like in a way, they have to put in a lot of hard work to become like a professional athlete. And, even like some of the professional, like, people in the UFC, right? Professional fighters, many of them make much less than I do, and I'm not sacrificing my body and my brain every day to fight and to make my money, right? And so, there are things that are possible, but that aren't really long-term strategies. And even, people, let's say you do become like a professional football player, you make a bunch of money. Most of them, within a couple years of retiring or exiting the NFL or whatever their professional sports organization was, they become broke. So many of them, even very wealthy, made a ton of money, become homeless, pawning their Super Bowl rings and things like that. And the reason is because you can't just like come onto this money and have all this stuff come in and not have the ability to know how to make it and how to keep it. When you acquire it little by little and you learn the process, you know how to keep it automatically. But when you get a whole bunch of money and you've always been poor, then you just go and spend it and lose it, it doesn't help you. And, if that's like your mindset is like, and what you're seeking is to, get this big bunch of wealth coming to you very quickly, you wouldn't keep that anyways. Even if they took all Jeff Bezos' money and give it to you or give it to, me, I mean, I think that I could do all right with it, but that's a very big responsibility. And most people, they go and spend it and lose it and, all kinds of stuff, make terrible decisions and end up broke within, a very short time, right? So luck isn't going to do it for you. Inheriting a bunch of money probably isn't going to happen for you. But another way that the third way that people often get rich is by becoming a workaholic. And I think this is actually terrible. I had a friend in Spokane, and, he had a wife and a couple kids, and man was just like working all the time, like around the clock. And he was working for a construction company, and he's like, oh, he got this big project, and all he was doing was like trying to impress his boss so that, he could get a raise and make more money. And he cared a lot about success, but he was putting everything that he had into this nonstop, day after day after day. And, in a lot of businesses, that may be what it takes to succeed, right? But that's kind of like the work harder kind of way. And I prefer the work smarter, not harder, right? And you can spend more time, and, like his wife missed him, his kids, didn't really know him, and all those things. I've had many neighbors, even a neighbor who's across the street right here where I live at now. And, he would come home, and like, I think he's like in his 70s, and he would come home at night, sometimes like 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock at night or 1 o'clock in the morning. And, when we first moved here, I look out there and be like, what's the car going in there at this time for? These people aren't out at a party or something. And I realized, wow, this is, the husband, he's coming home in the middle of the night in his 70s. And, there's not enough money you could pay me to make me want to do that. I don't want to work day and night and neglect my family and my kids for many years. And, myself, like, in order to work that hard and for that long, like, you have to neglect yourself. It's basically like you're becoming a slave of the company in order to get some money. And that's not worth it. That's not worth it. So this is a terrible way to make money. It's just to work harder, work more, do more things, have more side hustles, do all that. That's not a good way to do it, right? There are times when, a lot of people, even my students, many of them work a job when they first start freelancing, and then they come into where they, like work, what do you call moonlighting, where they work a couple hours at night on the weeknights, maybe a couple hours on the weekends, and they try to get their freelancing career started. And then by the end of that, they can quit their job and let freelancing take over and becomes their career. And they don't have the job anymore. And maybe they work like 30 hours a week, but they make more than they were making at the job, right? So that is a wonderful way to do it. But, just becoming a workaholic, forever and working like that, this is a terrible, terrible mindset, right? It's a terrible way to make money. Even if you did become a millionaire, even $10 million or $100 million, I don't think it's worth it. Now, you have your own life and your own decisions and, whatever. But for me, that's not going to happen. Okay. So the fourth way is to become a miser, right? To live like you're poor. And this is actually the most common way that people become rich today, is they just have a normal job, maybe a teacher, maybe, anything. And, not some kind of crazy income, but they just make a, decent income, and they just live like they make half of what they actually do. And this is actually how most of those 80% of people who didn't inherit any wealth, this is how most of those people became rich, is by, not spending much, making things, getting their bills as cheap as possible, negotiating all their rates, not going on big vacations, not, spending money on this or that, not having a new anything, and just living like they're cheap, and, in a way that's very smart, and that's why these people are able to acquire wealth. But many of them actually, even much farther down the line, they still have these mental issues where they can't even enjoy the money that they saved up and invested and things like that. They can't even enjoy that money when they get to the point where they want to retire or whatever, because they feel bad spending that money. And to me, like, there's not really any difference between that and being poor, Like, if you're living like you're poor, and then when you're no longer poor, you still live like that because you're so used to it, then what was the point of making all that money? Why don't you just work less and just be extra poor, So, for me, that's not really what I want to do either. I think that, this last way is actually definitely what I've been able to do, and what I would definitely prefer and recommend for you. And that's number 5, is to be prospered. And, the way that I think about it is just working smarter, not harder. So as I said, if you watch the video I did on the most important concept from Rich Dad, Poor Dad, like he talked about making, working a job or doing whatever to get the skills to be able to make a lot of money. And that's what I did with freelancing, is I began to work for other companies and learn skills that were very valuable so that I could go and offer those, and that would be a high income. And then I could worry about investing or starting a business or doing those other things. But, if I have $100 and all I'm doing is reading investing books and trying to figure out how to make a bunch of money with investing, even if I make like a 300% return, and I spent 2 years trying to figure out how to do that, well, now instead of $100, I have $300, But if I would have learned some skills that could have made me an extra $50,000 a year or $100,000 a year, in 3 years, I could have a few $100,000 more than I did. And all that investing information, I didn't really need that. I didn't need it at all. And so then after you have the money and you have the capital, then you can worry about those other things. But to me, it's all about working smarter, and then, learning to make your income, grow. And then once you have that income, you don't have to live like you're cheap, but you don't want to be stupid either. Like, I bought a car when I moved back to America a couple years ago. It was a couple years old already. I paid, well, I didn't pay complete cash for it, but now, you know, anything that I buy, I pay complete cash for, other than my house that we're actually buying right now. But like, it's just like, I don't need to have most of the things that people tell me I need to have. I think I have like an iPhone 8 here, you know, 8 Plus, and I don't really care about getting the newest version. I don't care if people think, you know, my phone, who cares what they think, you know? And when you know, you're confident in yourself and you're not worried about what other people think and you don't seek their approval, you'll be able to actually, you know, have the things that you want instead of actually just doing things for other people or doing things to look good or doing things to look rich. You don't need to look rich. You don't need to look cool. You can actually be what you want to be, right? And so that's what I care about much more. So I hope this video helps. I hope it makes sense to you, and that you would be prospered instead of trying to figure out you know, all these other ways and or working yourself to death to try to make a bunch of money, or doing in these other ways that, you know, kind of defeats the whole point. You know, I'd recommend you learn to work smarter and to make a lot of money so that you can do what you want and get your freedom back, which is what I care about and which is probably what you care about too. So thanks so much for watching this video. If you haven't yet, please like this video, subscribe, and comment below and let me know any other questions that you have, and I'll see you in the next video.